As has been widely noted across the democratic world, these are not happy times for incumbents. In 2024, more voters have voted than in any other year in history, and they have largely voted out those who govern them. Canada's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has not faced re-election this year, but he may nevertheless be relying on the Christmas break to spare him from joining 2024's ranks of suddenly unemployed leaders. Earlier this week, Trudeau's Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, Canada's equivalent of the United Kingdom's Chancellor of the Exchequer or the United States Treasury Secretary, resigned. To understand why this matters, it is necessary to keep in mind that political resignations are enacted for a wide variety of reasons. Politicians resign in disgrace, pique, frustration, dudgeon, delusion, and occasionally even on principle. But Freeland's resignation was none of these. Freeland's resignation was the kind clearly intended to fit the skids under the head of government, then give him a push. First of all, there was the matter of timing. Freeland released the letter announcing her departure early on the day that she was supposed to deliver a significant economic statement. This signalled a twin determination to avoid being the bearer of bad news herself and to generally vex and bedevil Trudeau. Then there was the letter itself. It may read at first glance like pretty standard stuff, honour to serve, we have accomplished much, and so forth, but it is actually pretty devastating, the kind of deft, subtle carve-up that the victim may not fully absorb until they realise that their assailant's initials are slashed into their vest and their boots are full of blood. To demonstrate, we shall play a brisk game of what she said versus what she meant, with Monocle's appropriately accented Amy Vandenberg playing Chrystia Freeland. What Chrystia Freeland said.
On Friday, you told me you no longer want me to serve as your finance minister and offered me another position in the cabinet. Upon reflection, I have concluded that the only honest and viable path is for me to resign from the cabinet.
What she meant, you're not making me minister for Moose, and I now propose to cause you maximum embarrassment. What she said.
For the past number of weeks, you and I have found ourselves at odds about the best path forward for Canada.
What she meant, I do not plan to be clinging to a funnel when this thing goes under. What she said.
Our country today faces a grave challenge. The incoming administration in the United States is pursuing a policy of aggressive economic nationalism, including a threat of 25% tariffs. We need to take that threat extremely seriously. That means keeping our fiscal powder dry today so we have the reserves we may need for a coming tariff war. That means eschewing costly political gimmicks which we can ill afford and which make Canadians doubt that we recognize the gravity of the moment.
What she meant, I don't much fancy your chances of even leading us into the next election, and this is probably a good moment for someone to appear serious. What she said,
I know Canadians would recognize and respect such an approach. They know when we are working for them, and they equally know when we are focused on ourselves.
What she meant, as long as I'm scorching the earth here, I might as well go all in. What she said,
I look forward to continuing to work with my colleagues as a Liberal Member of Parliament, and I am committed to running again for my seat in Toronto in the next federal election.
What she meant, I would quite like your job, Prime Minister. Canada is due an election by next October at the latest. Current polls suggest that Justin Trudeau's chances of extending his stint as Prime Minister into a second decade are slender. At least 7 of his own Liberal Party's MPs have publicly called for him to quit. There is no single simple reason for Trudeau's unpopularity. It may be as straightforward as the electorate just being sick of him. After 10 years of one party and one Prime Minister in charge, electorates usually are. Added to which, Canadians have proved as susceptible as any other citizens of the 21st century's developed democratic world to the blandishments of populism enabled by social media. It is not easy to win the favour of voters insistent that all their problems, even the imaginary ones, could be solved tomorrow if only their leaders would act. But there is, or after January 20th will be, an additional difficulty. It seems pretty clear that US President-elect Donald Trump intends, once restored to the White House, to make Trudeau's life even harder. If Trump is serious about those tariffs, the consequences for Canada's economy would be gruesome. They would, of course, also be gruesome for the United States economy, but there seems little mileage in Trudeau trying to make this case to Trump. It is at least, well, probably safe to assume that Trump's running gag of addressing Trudeau as governor and Canada as the 51st state is not a precursor to any kind of special military operation avenging the War of 1812. But this will not be much consolation to Justin Trudeau as his status shifts inexorably from the merely embattled to the downright beleaguered. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.